Your Honor, this is straightforward, Jason Brennan said dismissively. We caught her red-handed. But there was nothing straightforward about what had happened to Dorothy Chen. The 69-year-old grandmother and retired teacher had spent 43 years shaping young minds. She had never even received a parking ticket. Now she stood accused of shoplifting, her face pale, her voice shaking. Judge Caprio watched the proceedings carefully, his eyes moving between the arrogant young store manager and the frightened elderly woman. Then he noticed the child in the gallery, 7-year-old Sofia, who kept raising her hand like she was still in a classroom, desperate to tell the truth. This case was about to take a turn no one expected. Judge Caprio adjusted his glasses and looked down at the file before him. Mrs. Chen, you're being charged with shoplifting a bottle of olive oil valued at $37 from Miller's grocery store. How do you plead? Dorothy's voice was barely a whisper. Not guilty, Your Honor. Jason Brennan leaned back in his chair, a smirk on his face. He was 32, confident, and had been managing Miller's grocery for 3 years. He wore an expensive watch and designer shoes. Your Honor, if I may, he said, standing without being called. This is wasting everyone's time. We have store policy. She was seen leaving without paying. Judge Caprio's expression remained calm, but his eyes sharpened. Mr. Brennan, you'll have your opportunity to testify. Please sit down. Jason sat, but the smirk didn't fade. The prosecutor called Jason to the stand. He walked up confidently, took his oath without hesitation, and settled into the witness chair like he owned it. Mr. Brennan, please tell the court what happened on the afternoon of October 15th, the prosecutor said. Jason nodded. It was approximately 3:30 p.m. I was doing my floor walk. That's when management checks the store, and I noticed Mrs. Chen in the international foods aisle. She picked up a bottle of imported olive oil, our most expensive brand, and placed it in her purse. Dorothy's hands clutched the edge of the defendant's table. Her daughter, Maria, sitting behind her, reached forward to squeeze her shoulder. And what did you then? The prosecutor asked. I followed protocol. Jason said smoothly. I observed her continue shopping. She purchased a few items at the register, bread, milk, some vegetables, but not the olive oil. When she exited the store, I stopped her in the parking lot and asked to see her purse. She refused initially, but I called the police. When officers arrived, they found the bottle in her bag. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Mr. Brennan, did you check your security cameras? Jason's smile faltered for just a moment. The cameras in that aisle weren't functioning that day, Your Honor. Maintenance issue. I see, Judge Caprio said quietly. How convenient. Excuse me? Jason's tone shifted, an edge creeping in. Nothing. Continue. The prosecutor nodded to Jason. What happened when the police found the bottle? Mrs. Chen claimed she forgot it was in her purse. Classic excuse. Jason looked directly at Dorothy. We see it all the time. Elderly shoplifters think they'll get sympathy. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. Maria stood up. Your Honor, may I— Please sit down, ma'am, Judge Caprio said gently. Then he turned to Jason. Mr. Brennan, I'd appreciate if you'd refrain from characterizing the defendant before we've heard all testimony. Jason shrugged. Just stating facts, Your Honor. The public defender, a young woman named Sarah Mitchell, approached for cross-examination. Mr. Brennan, you said you followed Mrs. Chen through the store. Did anyone else witness this alleged theft? I don't need witnesses. I saw it myself. And the cameras were broken? Yes. How long had they been broken? Jason shifted. I'm not sure. A few days, maybe. But you didn't think to mention that to the police in your initial report, did you? I didn't think it was relevant. Sarah nodded slowly. Mr. Brennan, how many shoplifting arrests have you made in the past year? I don't keep count. The store records show 43. That's almost one per week. Does that seem high to you? Jason's jaw tightened. We have a theft problem. I'm doing my job. Or perhaps you're overzealous, Sarah suggested. Objection, the prosecutor said, argumentative. Withdrawn. Sarah returned to her table. No further questions. Judge Caprio looked at Jason. Mr. Brennan, one more question from me. In your 3 years as manager, how many of those 43 arrests resulted in convictions? Jason hesitated. I'm not sure, Your Honor. I have the records here, Judge Caprio said, holding up a document. 7. 7 convictions out of 43 arrests. That's a 16% conviction rate. The other 84% were dismissed or the charges were dropped. Jason's face reddened. Your Honor, that's not my fault, the prosecutors. That's enough, Mr. Brennan. You may step down. As Jason returned to his seat, he muttered under his breath, but just loud enough for the courtroom to hear. With all due respect, Judge, you're out of touch. You don't know how retail works today. The courtroom went completely silent. Even the court reporter stopped typing. Judge Caprio removed his glasses slowly, his face unreadable. I'm sorry, Mr. Brennan. What did you say? Jason realized his mistake, but pride wouldn't let him back down. I said you're out of touch, Your Honor. This is modern retail. We can't afford to be soft on theft. Maybe you don't understand that, sitting behind your bench. Mr. Brennan. Judge Caprio's voice was steel wrapped in silk. You will address this court with respect, or you will be held in contempt. Do you understand? Jason slumped back in his chair, silent. Sarah called Dorothy to the stand. The elderly woman walked slowly, using the railing for support. Her hands shook as she was sworn in. Mrs. Chen, Sarah began gently, please tell the court what happened that day. Dorothy's voice was soft but clear. I was shopping for my granddaughter's birthday dinner. Sofia, she's 7. She loves pasta with olive oil and garlic. It's simple, but it's her favorite. She wiped her eyes. I picked up the bottle. It was expensive, but I wanted to make her day special. I put it in my purse because my shopping cart was full and I didn't want it to break. Then what happened? I continued shopping. When I got to the register, I started unloading my cart. But Sofia's mother called, Maria, my daughter. She was running late from work. Sofia was at their apartment alone. I was distracted, worried. I paid for what was on the belt and I rushed to my car. You forgot the olive oil? Yes. Dorothy's tears fell freely now. I forgot. I'm 69 years old. My husband died 2 years ago. Sometimes I forget things. I forget where I put my keys. I forget why I walked into a room, but I am not a thief. The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of Dorothy's quiet crying. Mrs. Chen, Judge Caprio said gently, did you intentionally steal that bottle? No, Your Honor. Never. When Mr. Brennan stopped me, I was horrified. I tried to explain. I offered to pay right there, but she looked at Jason. He called me a liar. He said people like me always make excuses. He had me arrested in front of everyone in the parking lot. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. Mrs. Chen, you taught 3rd grade for 43 years? Yes, Your Honor. That's a long time to shape young minds, to teach children about honesty, integrity. I tried my best, Your Honor. I'm sure you did. Judge Caprio looked at Sarah. Any other witnesses? Sarah stood. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Sofia Martinez to the stand. Dorothy's head snapped up. No, please. She's just a child. Don't make her. Mrs. Chen, Sarah said softly, Sofia wants to testify. She insisted. The little girl walked forward from the gallery, clutching her stuffed rabbit. She wore a yellow dress, and her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail. The bailiff brought a step stool so she could reach the witness chair. Judge Caprio smiled at her, his entire demeanor softening. Hello, Sofia. Do you know what it means to tell the truth? Sofia nodded solemnly. Yes, sir. It means not lying. Mrs. Chen taught us that in Sunday school. Mrs. Chen teaches Sunday school? Every week, Sofia said. She tells us Bible stories and we make crafts. She's really nice. I'm sure she is. Judge Caprio's voice was gentle. Sofia, were you with Mrs. Chen at the grocery store that day? Yes, sir. Abuela. That's what I call her. It means grandma. She was making me birthday pasta. And did you see what happened with the olive oil? Sofia's small voice grew stronger. Yes, sir. Abuela put it in her purse because her cart was really full. She said she'd take it out at the register. But then my mommy called and said she was late and I was home alone and Abuela got really worried about me. So Mrs. Chen was worried about you? Yes, sir. She kept saying, pobrecita, pobrecita. That means poor little thing. She was worried I was scared. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Sofia, what happened at the register? Abuela was talking on the phone with Mommy, and she was putting groceries on the belt really fast. She forgot about the olive oil. I forgot too. I was talking to her, telling her I was okay. And then? Sofia's eyes welled with tears. Then that mean man stopped us in the parking lot. He yelled at Abuela. He said she was a thief. He made her cry. He made the police come. The little girl's voice broke. Abuela isn't a thief. She gives me cookies. She helps me with homework. She would never steal. Judge Caprio's expression was gentle, but his eyes were fierce. Thank you, Sofia. Just one more question. Did you see anyone else near your abuela in the store that day? Anyone acting strangely? Sofia brightened suddenly. Oh, yes, sir. There was a lady with red hair. She was putting things in her jacket. I saw her take chocolate bars. Lots of them. Jason Brennan suddenly sat up straight, his face going pale. Judge Caprio noticed immediately. Mr. Brennan, do you know who this woman might be? Jason said nothing. Sarah Mitchell stood. Your Honor, I'd like to introduce evidence. This is security footage from the store's front entrance, the cameras that were working that day. A screen was set up. The footage played. It showed Dorothy Chen entering the store at 3:15 p.m. At 3:47 p.m., it showed her exiting. But more importantly, at 3:52 p.m., it showed a young woman with red hair exiting quickly, her jacket bulging. At 3:54 p.m., it showed her returning to the store, going directly to Jason Brennan, kissing him, and the two of them talking in hushed tones. Your Honor, Sarah said, the woman in the video is Nicole Patterson. She's Mr. Brennan's girlfriend. She works at Miller's Grocery as a cashier. Judge Caprio turned to Jason, his face thunderous. Mr. Brennan, would you like to explain? Jason's confidence had evaporated entirely. He stammered, we didn't. You falsely accused Mrs. Chen to cover for your girlfriend's theft, Judge Caprio said, his voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade. You humiliated an innocent woman. You had her arrested. You destroyed her reputation, all to protect someone who was actually stealing from your store. Jason said nothing. Judge Caprio stood. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath. Mr. Brennan, I have been a judge for many years. I have seen criminals and I have seen good people caught in bad circumstances. But what I have witnessed today is something far worse than simple theft. You used your position of authority to victimize an innocent elderly woman. You showed no compassion, no willingness to hear her side. And when you were challenged, you dismissed not only her dignity, but the dignity of this court. Judge Caprio's voice grew stronger. You said I was out of touch, that I don't understand modern retail. Let me tell you what I understand. I understand that respect isn't outdated. I understand that compassion isn't weakness. I understand that an elderly woman who has spent her life teaching children deserves better than to be humiliated in a parking lot by someone half her age who thinks kindness is optional. The judge looked at Dorothy. Mrs. Chen, all charges against you are dismissed. Immediately. Completely. I am deeply sorry for what you have endured. Dorothy covered her face, sobbing with relief. Sofia ran from the witness stand and hugged her. Judge Caprio turned back to Jason. Mr. Brennan, I am forwarding this case to the prosecutor's office. You will be investigated for filing a false police report, abuse of power, and conspiracy to commit theft. This court is also notifying Miller's Grocery corporate headquarters of your conduct. And Mr. Brennan, this is not about being out of touch. This is about being human, something you clearly need to learn. Jason sat frozen, his face ashen. Judge Caprio addressed the entire courtroom. Justice isn't just about laws and evidence. It's about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. It's about standing up for what is right, especially when it's inconvenient. Mrs. Chen deserved better. Sofia deserved better. And this community deserves better. He looked down at Sofia, still clutching Dorothy's hand. Young lady, you were very brave today. Never stop telling the truth. Sofia nodded, smiling through her tears. This court is adjourned. Dorothy Chen's record was expunged within days. The story spread through the community like wildfire. Her church held a celebration dinner. Former students, now adults, sent letters and flowers. Jason Brennan was terminated from Miller's Grocery and charged with filing false reports. His girlfriend, Nicole, was also fired and charged with theft. But the most important moment came 2 weeks later, on Sofia's actual birthday. Dorothy made the pasta, with expensive olive oil, paid for and properly checked out. Sofia, wearing a paper crown, sat at the small kitchen table and said, Abuela, you're a hero. Dorothy smiled, her eyes crinkling. No, Majita. Judge Caprio is the hero. He listened. He cared. That's all anyone really needs. Sofia took a bite of pasta and grinned. This is the best birthday ever. And in that moment, in that small kitchen, justice felt complete.